You're listening to the MS Power User Podcast. This is episode 34, recorded Friday, February 10th. Each week, we discuss the latest news about Microsoft, including Cortana, OneDrive, Office, Azure, Bing, Skype, Surface, Xbox, Windows. Yeah. Today, we're not going to dig into all of those things. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith, and I'm joined as usual by Andy Bennett. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, we're recording on a Friday, and for good reason.
Yeah. All right. Excuse me. As you can probably tell from my voice, kind listeners, you can know that I am not feeling very well. And maybe... Actually, Vernon, your voice sounds actually pretty good, but...
I'm faking it. Yes, I'm pretending I feel well.
Yeah. Neither of us is really feeling too great, which mine's thanks to spending some time up near a hospital, which, of course, that never really ends with you being well in the end. You're always going to pick something up at a hospital, I think.
I think around here we have the Midwestern spring plague, or I guess midwinter spring plague, because like we had, it's been so bad. We actually had a concert. My daughter is part of at school, and the whole thing was postponed by 2 weeks because there were just so many kids sick. It was kind of ridiculous. Same thing at work. We had some people that were out for several days with some pretty intense flu, and last night I felt like I was getting that, but hopefully I averted that disaster. So we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get fired up here. Let's get started. Insider builds. Pretty much every week we have a new build, and this week it is 15.0.31. Andy, have you? What do you know about this thing?
Well, what I know is that there isn't really too much new that you'll see at once. Like, quite possibly the most immediate change that you'll see is that the share icon is different, which any application that just loads in the icon from the Sego MDL2 font, that'll be automatically changed, of course. And yeah, it's a different share icon. I mean, you can see it if you go to the Windows blog, and I think we have it up on the site too, and it's just a little box with an arrow pointed out of it, as opposed to the 3 circles connected by a ring, which I never really got that anyways, but yeah.
Let me debate you on this. When I manage to survive through scrolling through Facebook, okay, when I am not entirely frustrated at the end of it, when I think I actually got a little bit of value out of it, is when I'm not just sharing, but when I'm interacting with people, when I'm conversing, and it's really interesting. Today, even I posted something, and a friend of mine commented, and a friend of his, who I didn't know, commented, and it's kind of a circle. We broaden our sphere of influence, or even the discussion. And not to dwell too much. Not to dwell on this too deeply, but this share icon has 3 little dots and 3, it's kind of like the recycle symbol from days of old, or I guess current days as well, where you have 3 different places that it's going through, kind of like, the old telephone game when you were a kid. And it means that eventually you're going to come back around and you're going to get something out of it. Yes, I'm going deep on this, but that's why I like that icon, because it insinuated that this was meaningful to you in some way. It was going to come back around, where just like iOS, the little share box with arrow, which is very similar to the new icon we're seeing, the share icon we're seeing in the new build, is just, okay, I have this thing and I'm sending it that way, and it's more direct in one way. And I know that that's way deeper than most people thought to think of this. But what we see, these icons, subconsciously they're telling us something. Consciously they're telling us something, but subconsciously we're picking up on cues, and that's part of iconography. That's part of fonts and readability and all that type of thing. And yeah, I can also just take the stance of, get off my lawn, change is bad. But that's why I have an opinion, and I dedicated too much time to sharing why I like the old icon.
Okay. Well, I can recommend writing a book I think, maybe. But yeah, it's a different share icon, probably here to stay. I see no reason for them to change back anytime soon. And yeah. Now there's some other changes though, such as dynamic lock. And dynamic lock automatically locks your Windows 10 PC when you're not around based on the proximity of a Bluetooth paired phone. If your Bluetooth paired phone is not found near your PC, Windows turns off the screen and locks the PC after 30 seconds. To enable this, you make sure your phone is paired to your PC through Bluetooth, and then you go to Accounts. In Under Settings, go to Accounts and Sign In Options, and then toggle Dynamic Lock to On. However, there is a bug in this build preventing PCs from successfully pairing devices through Bluetooth, so you'll have to pair it before upgrading. And then, something that is not quite a Windows feature, it's a feature that apps will take care of, not immediately a Windows feature, and it's called the Compact Overlay Window. And this is something that Universal apps can take advantage of. It is essentially picture-in-picture, where, say, there's a UWP YouTube app, which obviously wouldn't be made by Google, and say you're watching a video. And you also, while you're watching this video, you want to take notes on this video. Maybe you're a student or something, I don't know. And you'll go, okay, go into picture-in-picture. You'll have a little box up in the top right, top left, whatever the setting is. And there you go. You can watch that and then also have OneNote up, which I imagine would be a bit handier than just snapping the windows side by side, because now you not only have the video where you want, you also have that full screen of whatever it is you're writing on. So that's neat. And it also says that updates to the Movies and TV app, as well as Skype Preview app, will take advantage of this in the future. Near future.
I'm very excited about this, basically picture-in-picture. I think it's fantastic, and basically, why did we not ask for this earlier? Why did Microsoft not offer it earlier? Whatever, it's here. Well, in the insider builds, it's welcomed, and it doesn't seem like it's something we're going to have a lot of problems with. Skype has done this for a long time in different forms, and now it should be available on an OS level. That's awesome. Yeah. And then to cap off the dynamic lock part of it, that is fantastic as well. That is the future. That's how we're going to advanced technology is going to be used in real life, and it's going to become the norm. And I love that type of stuff. I should add, it does not mention using the Microsoft Band or Band 2, but something like that would be
that would be an alternate future.
But I mean, that something like that would make sense. Whether it doesn't have to be the band, any type of wearable would make a lot more sense. And I think with Bluetooth, what are we on? Bluetooth 4 that's coming out, like with the Snapdragon 835 or whatever. I think, I don't know. I envision at some point there's going to be a way to adjust it. There's going to be a way to base it off of your signal strength, because I mean, my Bluetooth, my house is relatively medium sized. It's not small, and I have Bluetooth signal throughout the whole house. My home whatever, and so I think you can adjust that. I would say eventually we should be able to adjust that signal to where, okay, I'm only a little ways away. It's going to shut it off instead of being a long ways away, and then really that could be. Well, whatever. I'm digging too deep on this. Last part of it is that many people still have PCs that do not have Bluetooth in them, built in, like a desktop, for example. And just in case you weren't aware, you could just get a tiny little Bluetooth transmitter as a USB, not dongle, but nub you would put in. And I've used that for years. That's actually works pretty well. And
I've been considering picking one of those up for the sake of getting a Surface mouse and keyboard, maybe, and connecting it that way.
Yeah, so
I think that'd be neat.
So, didn't mean to dwell on that too much, but I thought that was worth mentioning. Game bar. Okay,
actually, before the game bar, I do want to say again, also, go back to the compact overlay / picture-in-picture, that I've been seeing speculation that this will be used on the Xbox One as well.
Mm-hmm.
No official word on it, but I would imagine that would be possible, and that would be neat as well, because Xbox One, they just got rid of Snap Mode, and the replacement that they've mentioned does look quite a bit like picture-in-picture, because, well, it is. And yeah.
And as we get larger and larger displays, television, TVs, it makes sense to have to not use up the whole, to do more with that screen real estate, in my opinion.
All right. And I can touch on some of the game bar stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game bar is what happens when you hold the Windows key and press G. Messed that up. But yeah, it's a little menu that includes gaming functions such as recording clips, streaming if you're on insider builds, etc., etc. And it doesn't work for every single full screen game. Support has to be added in there by Microsoft. And they are continuing to add more and more of that. They just added it to 52 more games, and there's some big titles in here: Crusader Kings, Civilization, Call of Duty, Borderlands, Half-Life 2, and all other Source games, Titanfall 2. There's a lot of stuff in there. And yeah, I mean, they're always going to be continuing to add support, and these are just big titles, so I'd imagine that if they continue to do this, it won't be too long before pretty much every popular game for that you're going to be using this with, I'd imagine they'll have a good majority in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, mobile is, there was this build was for mobile as well, 15.031. So a few things that were broken with this, notably, speech packs not able to download in this build. Adding a new card or paying with an existing card will not work in Microsoft Wallet. If you go to settings, devices, this will crash the settings app, and you'll be unable to pair a Bluetooth device. Bluetooth quick actions from Action Center does not work, and Continuum does not work. Kind of a crappy build, sounds like.
At the very least, you get a new share icon.
Yeah, that makes up for it. And I was all excited to put a different phone on Fast Ring yesterday, and now I'm a little bit down. I'm downtrodden. I'm sad. No, I'll put it on anyway.
Gotta get that share icon.
Yeah, I can complain about it.
The build does include a couple of fixes, though. I don't have them listed here, but it fixes a variety of stuff. And the PC build actually does include some fixes as well for the gaming side, such as popular games crashing and black screens, and this was due to a platform issue. They also fixed some various issues where game mode was enabled system-wide by default, but however, the on-off toggle in settings will incorrectly show it as being off until you manually toggle it to on, which will cause it to update and accurately display the status of it system-wide. So yeah, there's that. That was PC side, of course. And yeah, these builds not too huge with immediate improvements, I think. But I mean, dynamic lock, yes, that's good. But we are at the end, really. Like from here on out, I think the Windows 10 SDK is already feature complete now, I think. So. And that's for the creators update, of course. And so, yeah, there's not like we're going to be seeing much for a while now. It's like, I would fully expect this to be, I mean, maybe we'll see some more features enabled, but I think the underlying groundwork for everything's already there.
It would have been nice to see People Bar actually end up in here, but
I have a feeling that is not going to happen ever, personally.
That could be.
I mean, I just can't see it. And that's just me, I guess, but boy, I have a hard time with that. It's something that I think is just like too, not necessarily advanced, but I think it would be a bit too much of a resource hog to just put it in system-wide. I don't know. I just cannot see it, personally.
I think if it was... I mean, it depends how you do it, I guess. Because you had... I remember in 8.1, you had your charms bar, and it was basically just a link to doing other things. So you could have your people bar in a way, just like a charms bar. You'd have to cache and have some stuff in the background, when you scroll over it or whatever. But I think it feels like it's doable enough. I don't know. I think maybe if they want to roll something out like that, I think they have to make sure it's all fleshed out. It's not just a shell, just a glimpse of something cool. They probably need to make it really cool and actually have it, so people don't get the wrong impression. Have first impressions are everything, and if you screw it up the first time, no one's going to want to do it.
They really, really, really should have waited to announce it, I think. I mean, you see this,
Yeah.
I see this issue in the games industry a lot, where you'll see a teaser trailer go out for something that's coming 2-3 years down the road, and then a lot of the time it doesn't happen at all.
Yeah. But sometimes just watching those trailers can be humorous and worthwhile.
That's a bit for later, though. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Halo Wars 2, because stuff's great. But anyways, before we do that, and also on the Windows 10 side, and also about stuff that we won't see for a while. Yeah, I'm great at these transitions. Another screenshot of Project Neon has leaked out. Excuse me.
Well, it was not so much leaked as just accidentally been.
Well,
it's a little bit different, yeah.
Yeah, because at the Windows developer event earlier this week, they had showed off a slide about creating engaging and beautiful apps, which featured this screenshot in the background. And then Thomas Hounsel, who is a good friend of mine, he put that up on Twitter. And it could like the version Microsoft put out, they just had a blue screen in front of that with some text on it. And yeah, he put up the full-size version, which you can see clearly. It shows off a light theme on the taskbar, which some people find interesting, but I also think it's worth mentioning. This will not be a 1-1 recreation when it comes into Windows 10. You will see plenty of differences. This might not even happen fully. It's just there is so much that could change between now and when it gets released, and this was not a screenshot of a build. This was a mock-up. This mock-up, I'm pretty sure this existed since, like, maybe May of last year. I mean, if you look at the taskbar, that's what it says there. Although, of course, who knows? Maybe May was when they started the initial template for what they were working on here. But it just could very well be something entirely different when it happens. I mean, it's not likely, but things will change is what I'm trying to get at here. It's a mock-up. Windows mock-ups are notorious for being very different from the final product. Like, there were still, even in promotional screenshots, you'll see occasionally some Windows 10 mock-ups in advertising where the taskbar is different here and there. You'll see different icons. In fact, some of them even still use Internet Explorer in there, and they've got this pure white icon on it, which, as we know, that never happened. Even Microsoft Edge still uses that blue E for the icon. So, yeah. I mean, it looks great, though. And we did talk about Project Neon before, because we, of course, had a big exclusive on that, which is still cool to look at. And, of course, if you're just coming into this, Project Neon is the new design language, update to the design language for Windows 10. It features some very Windows Aero-y and Mac OS-y blur with a material called acrylic. And like how there was Aero Glass. Well, this is acrylic. And it basically, just look at Groove Music and you'll get a good idea. You will see lots of things blurred behind elements. You'll find that some areas blur your wallpaper when they show it, and it all looks nice. And some of the stuff for it is already in recent insider builds. Like, you'll see, say, like, I think, yeah, the acrylic material exists right now. And there's, still a lot of it to go, though. We think we'll see it fully for the first time, officially, at build. And that's that, I guess.
Next up, we have Windows 10 Cloud. This is pretty exciting to me. As I understand it, it's basically, we don't know exactly what this is yet, but it's like,
I mean, we know some of the details as a build of it leaked out. I don't know if we talked about that last week, but
I don't think we did. But it as I understand it, it's going to be like the free version, but we don't know that.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be free or what, though. That does look like it's possible. Windows Cloud is essentially Windows RT Second Edition in the way that it's not. It's not
If you
necessarily
say that,
the
people are
ARM-based
going to
one.
hate it, Andy.
Okay. But like, I mean that in the way that it only runs apps from the Windows Store.
Mhm.
It is incredibly early along, and the build that leaked out was just someone that hacked together an ISO with that edition, and it's early along. I don't believe that we're fully going to know what it is until maybe build, maybe after build, and I don't know. I think it's if we're going to compare it to anything other than Windows RT, of course, because of the obvious, only runs store apps. It's kind of like Windows Starter Edition, I think.
Yeah.
That hasn't been seen since Windows 7, I think. But Starter Edition with XP only lets you run 3 apps at a time. With Windows Vista and 7, they dropped that, but they also made it so you couldn't run Arrow. It's a locked-down version of Windows that is intended for really, really cheap computers and emerging markets. And that's what I see this being used as, personally. I don't think we're going to see a lot of PCs with Windows 10 Cloud here in the States.
But it is breaking into those broader markets, like you said. I think of it as, for a long time, we did not pay for Windows. Most people would not pay for Windows. You just bought a new PC, and that was Windows on it. And Microsoft doesn't want all those old versions of Windows laying around. They want to upgrade us, obviously, and we understand that. But having this available, first of all, an OEM doesn't have to pay whatever they pay for a full version of Windows. $100 in that range, depending on how, obviously there's volume licensing. But they can have this, which is, like you said, a starter version, and it gets people in the door. You can do all the main functions that you really need, and if you want to move forward, for example, using Win32 apps, well, then you upgrade to Windows 10 Pro.
Yeah. And this is why I think it's partially for emerging markets, because let's say current Windows, I don't know the exact OEM price. I mean, I think the $100 might just be for users, but who knows? Maybe they'll give this to OEMs. Maybe they'll give this to OEMs for free.
Well, I have no doubt
there's something.
Yeah, I feel
or it'll be either
that
free or something super cheap.
I feel confident Windows 10 Cloud would be free. Yeah.
And let's say, okay, the cheapest laptop you can think of right now, probably $200 or around there.
Yep.
So let's say that shaves $100 off the price of a laptop. You get a laptop that runs basic Windows Microsoft applications through Win32 and Windows 10 store applications, and that laptop is $100. There is no way they're going to aim that in anything other than maybe if they do put it in the States, it'll be a complete budget market. For real, you'll see real cheap PCs pushed out running Windows 10 Pro. Probably laptops, notebooks, But I can see that being pushed to a lot of emerging markets.
I guess I see
areas where people just don't have enough money to throw around for a regular Windows PC. Then all of a sudden, here we go. We got Windows 10 Cloud PCs. We can toss these out. Here you go. And that's what I can see it being, personally.
Well, I don't debate that. I think that will be a very large portion of this. But another angle is that doing this is going to save the OEMs money as well. Just like you would get, free trial of Office or Office 365, and then you would, pay for it. Well, people felt that they had that, they gained that value by buying that PC, and it had Office for a year. Well, Office was, after that, you just got to pay Microsoft for it. So the OEMs are saving money. They're selling at a lower price point, and definitely with Windows 10 Cloud, if it is free to OEMs, as I am expecting, that they don't have to sell it cheaper. They can just make more money at it if that's what they are.
That as well, but if you keep it at the same price point and you still have other competitors selling laptops or desktop towers, whatever, at that price point, like let's say OEM A is currently selling a laptop with Windows 10 Home, and it's $200. OEM B has a laptop with Windows 10 Cloud, and they decide we're going to start, switching to cloud. We're going to keep the price the same so we make a little more money. All of a sudden, customers are going to get mad or something, or they'll just look and, say, all right, for $200 I get Windows Cloud, and then I'll have to pay $100 to upgrade to Pro. Or they'll look at the competitor's laptop and go, all right, these are roughly the same specifications, same price point, but I don't have to pay $100 for full Windows. So therefore, you have a laptop that is technically $100 cheaper for full functionality. And that's what I personally think is going to happen.
Probably a combination of those,
yeah. You either have to lower the price, or you're not going to have many happy customers, I don't think. Because the majority of people, like it or not, are not going to just get their applications fully from the store. Especially when you remember that Google Chrome, which is a full Win32 app and will likely never be in the store, is the most popular web browser of all time. It's I forget its market share, but it's huge. And even afterwards, then you've got Firefox, you've got Opera, you've got Microsoft being left in the dust in the browser wars. And while there is the argument that this could help them in that regard, maybe, I just do not see people happy when they realize they can't install some stuff, unless they pay less than the other product, because then you have the argument of, okay, you get what you pay for. Or again, emerging markets, etc., etc. There you go.
I think we're still focusing on PCs as a desktop or a laptop. We do tend to forget about the convertibles, especially the tablets. Surface tablets.
That's also true.
And also smaller, cheaper, obviously, Surface tablets running full Windows, or I should say big Windows, but the Windows 10 Cloud version, for example. And you can still do an awful lot with that consumption device without needing those Win32 apps. And so, yeah, Microsoft wants to make money by selling the upgraded version from Windows 10 Cloud to Windows Pro, or 10 Pro. But I think there's still going to be a lot of value in that cloud version. The other aspect of it, and I don't really know specifically how detailed this is, but Windows 10 Cloud does insinuate, and we've seen some evidence, that it would be, almost all of it would be cloud-based. Basically, you're logging in with your Microsoft account, and you just have everything there, like a Chromebook in a way. And I think that's going to help OEMs sell devices that have a lot less storage.
Yeah.
I don't know how well I don't know. We'll see how that works, I guess.
Yeah, we will. And I will also put in my other thoughts that the upgrade dialogue might very well just be a placeholder, I think. Like, it might not necessarily be an upgrade to Windows 10 Pro, because right now, at this point in time, the Windows 10 Pro upgrade is the only upgrade you can buy in the store. Who knows if, when this actually nears completion, we'll see something completely different, because it does not seem very finished whatsoever. I mean, like, I've seen people who had issues even opening command prompt on it. So,
well, I can
it's
see
obviously
how,
very early.
I can see how potentially, like they did the free year of Outlook, or Office 365, I should say, that they could sell these cloud devices and have a free upgrade available right with it, and where you enter in the key and like, oh wow, look at that, I got upgraded for no cost, where it's more of a freebie that Microsoft wasn't planning on charging anyone for anyway, just like with Windows 10, giving it away for a substantial time, obviously. We're really speculating here and digging deep into the psychology of consumer purchasing, I suppose, but there's options. There's, things. Speaking of cheaper prices on things, the Microsoft Surface Hub gets a subscription option for business users. So instead of the $80,000, it's not that much. I forget how much an 80-inch Microsoft Surface Hub is. But you would, I actually don't see the price in here, how much per month, but it obviously gives you an opportunity to try it out and to use it per month and use it as needed. And it's just good that they're offering pricing like that. It is part of the Surface subscription, Surface as a Surface, Surface as a Surface, I can't even say it, Service. Wow. A different SaaS, that where buying a Surface this way, a regular Surface this way, is not cost effective, but if you just need it for a few months, it would make sense, I suppose. I don't know. It's interesting that they're doing this, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Alrighty. Up next on the list, you can cover that partially because right now this cold is attempting to murder me, and also because you were the one who put it in here.
I'm on it. So I use Skype a lot. Andy and I use Skype as we record the podcast each week. And increasingly, more and more people I know are using Skype for a lot of things. Even my parents and my wife's grandparents even are using Skype. Not that that's incredibly surprising or anything, but it is growing, and there's a lot more ways that we can use Skype on mobile and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get the idea. Well, Skype now has a new virtual extra emojis, or emojis as they call them. An emoji, let me say this right. Emoji is animated GIF, basically with music, and they are adding another little option in there for people to send this little greeting card in a way to people for Valentine's Day. Some of them are quite silly. Most of them there's I don't know if we call it ad placements, but it's they work in collaboration with different people on this, so that there's money changing hands to get in here and whatever. But these cute little mini videos to send your loved one a token of your appreciation for them and blah, blah, blah. I hate Valentine's Day, but it's one of those things that gets makes a lot of money for consumerism, and here's how Microsoft is adding to that, except it's free. So that's all I'm going to talk about.
At the very least, I don't have to buy chocolates for anybody. Instead, just send them a Skype emoji. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, it shows the same level of care.
Exactly.
This is why I'm not currently in a relationship.
Well, you can still give Valentine's to your mother and sister and whatnot. But so next one, I guess I'm going to cover here as well. This one is much more exciting to me than the Valentine's Day Skype stuff. Microsoft, LinkedIn Premium. Microsoft owns LinkedIn. They spent a crap ton of money on LinkedIn, obviously, and we never fail to bring up that ridiculous amount. But they $26 billion. I was just waiting for Andy. Yes.
Even at my worst, I can still mock Microsoft for spending $26 million on LinkedIn. I'm sorry, folks.
$26 billion with a B. Yeah. It's crazy. So they spent a lot of money on LinkedIn. LinkedIn also is, or lynda.com is part of LinkedIn. Lynda is a online training service. LinkedIn Premium, which I've looked at, it costs between $25 and $100 a month if you want to get the premium stuff. I should have pulled it up here, but it has four different SKUs depending on what you're doing. If you're just searching for a job, if you are a professional, if you're seeking job placement and things like that. And obviously, you can't imagine there's a lot of people doing this, but the service is good enough that I get, job offers, or not offers, but I'm contacted by people frequently seeking out, that they're obviously using this, and it's worth their time to spend money on it to contact me. And not that I have a great skill set or anything, but it's anecdotally, it's telling me that this is a thing. And people are using it a lot. LinkedIn Premium, between $25 and $100 a month. There's a free trial and that kind of thing. So what's happening is now the LinkedIn Learning, which is, as I understand, different than LinkedIn Premium, and I just checked this today, they still appear to be separate. LinkedIn Learning is very similar to lynda.com. The cost on that is, I think, $29 a month, and then there's two SKUs of that. I guess I just saw the one SKU of LinkedIn Learning, $29 a month. And going forward, LinkedIn Learning will be part of LinkedIn Premium. And it just makes logical sense that lynda.com, Lynda Learning, will be incorporated into LinkedIn Learning, LinkedIn Premium, all of that. And I can see it does make sense. It made sense before, but you can see the reasons stacking up, the good reasons stacking up for Microsoft to have bought LinkedIn. Obviously, there's a lot of data there. That makes sense. But even just the subscription-based services that they can offer, and of course be profitable at, especially with the enterprise focus that they have and Office and all of that. So this makes sense. Andy, this isn't something you've probably thought of much before. I mean,
No.
Based
I
on
will say
what
I have thought of when it came to stuff like Lynda is that as soon as I realized Lynda was part of LinkedIn, my immediate thought was, all right, how many conflicts of interest have just been started by this because of how many tech podcasts out there are sponsored by Lynda? They often touch on Microsoft. And it's not like I'm calling anyone out or anything. It's just like an idle thought in your mind, like, okay, wait a second. How many technical conflicts of interest do we suddenly have going here? I mean, I don't think it's going to cause anything, but I mean, wouldn't that technically be counted as one?
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. So I don't. I think it's pretty valuable. I think the online learning stuff is only going to get bigger and bigger. So many people are focusing less on that necessarily. I'm not saying people are focusing less on a college degree, but I think they're increasingly focusing on an online learning method in addition to college. And I see the value there, and I can see how that's really going to grow, especially with things being so virtual and where we don't worry about sitting in front of a computer anymore for an hour or two or whatever watching a video, where before it was limiting. So I think I can see how this is the future, and it's already taking hold.
Yeah.
And Microsoft is wise to build the foundation of potentially another $1 billion business out of it.
Yep. All
right. Weather.
Next,
we're talking about the weather.
Yep, because it is now a beautiful 28 degrees Fahrenheit with plenty of clouds, at least over here in the wonderfully cold Northeast Ohio. And by wonderful, I mean terrible. Oh my goodness. And meanwhile, while the weather here is frightful, I'm pretty sure Vernon's weather is even worse.
It has been recently, but it is actually pretty nice right now. It's about 38 degrees out, and luckily the sun is shoveling my driveway for me, so I'll take that.
This is the first time we've talked about the weather here when yours has been better than mine.
That's true.
All right, so anyways, Bing has been testing out a new weather widget for a while. Like, when you search in Bing, what's the weather? Something like that. It would show a little widget. I think Google does a similar thing, but the Bing design is pretty nice and getting even nicer. And it's now fully rolled out. I think it's fully rolled out to everybody now. It was just in testing a couple of months ago, but now I'm seeing it everywhere. And now they announced visually rich weather answers and ski resort snow options, which is kind of funny because this is similar to the old Windows 8 weather app, which had some features that I still wish came back to Windows 10.
It was almost dead on the same. I mean, the Windows 8 app was surprising. It actually stood out in a little bit, in a curious way, why they cared so much about the ski report or the conditions for a ski hill, which of course only affects half the country or whatever, and only affects that half of the country a third or less of the year. Obviously, the rest of the world has snow sometimes too. So part of the rest of the world has snow, but Bing, as I remember, this only applied to the U.S. anyway. So it felt funny that they were having this available for a relatively small portion of the demographic, for a small portion of the time. I didn't see the value in that. And they're bringing it back again. So I don't know why they wouldn't bring something similar to this, such as, hey, is the lake going to be nice out? What are the conditions for swimming? What, hey, hiking nearby is going to be, whatever, nice. It's not going to be windy and it's clear skies, or I don't know, something like that. I'm not saying that we need those things, but it's kind of cool to see that type of humanizing and activities or whatever that Bing is helping us feel more like humans instead of it just being a search engine.
We can go with that.
I'm digging real deep.
What I will say though, that I think everyone can agree on, the new weather widget on Bing is just fantastic looking. Like, just search what's the weather on there right now, and there's a little knob that you can drag to change the time that you're looking at. It is just it's beautiful. I mean, this is the first time I've been impressed by how a weather widget on a search engine looks. I guess it's just it's got fancy animations. It's got nice transitions as you're scrolling through here. It's like, oh my goodness. I wonder or rather maybe if this type of thing will end up in the Windows 10 weather app, which I do love and use daily, but when your default weather app has its visuals beaten by your search engine's little weather widget, I think you might change something personally. Maybe that's just me.
The whole concept of having an app is that it can be updated more easily and that it's more current and simple and there's less to fuss around with. Well, trumping all of that is the web. The web is updated constantly. I mean, like that is, the Bing weather image, of course, or the iconography in that widget, I should say, can be updated every single day. They can just change it. So it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's great though, I find it kind of funny looking at it, and it does have the old share icon. So let's have a countdown until that gets changed.
Well, I mean, it's still the new share icon's still an insider preview. So
yeah. I mean, I have a feeling that we are going to be seeing that for a long time on Microsoft's website, though. Just personal feeling.
Yeah, that's true. All right, moving on. This is just an aside, and I know it's been out for a little bit, but I really am enjoying the recent features in Office 2016, which make it easier to look up synonyms, antonyms, and go right to the thesaurus. Now, yes, you could do all of that for some time, but now it's there with a right click. It's easier to get to. It's more visible. It prompts you. It has, previews right in there. And I know it's been out for a little bit, but I like it. And I did not say so on the podcast yet. I wanted to mention that. That's a real life good thing.
I will also note that, somewhat related, the Office suite this was also announced at the Windows 10 developer event. And we did have this in the notes. I meant to put it in here, but somewhere between getting cold medicine 2 times, I forgot it. But yeah, the entire Office suite is coming to the Windows Store as Centennial apps, and I do believe that when Centennial was first being worked on, they did show up in the store, and of course, it's identical to the Windows the Win32 version, except you can easily install and uninstall right from the store. And they also mentioned that they are going to be shifting the focus away from the Office mobile apps. So, just in case you didn't have any more reason to worry about the future of Windows Phone, there you go. Which just, again, I truly believe that we're going to see some big announcements for Windows Phone after the Creators Update comes out. Maybe at Build, but I don't think it's going to be the most positive news. I mean,
one way to look at that though with the apps, because that the Office mobile apps are getting less focus, is that with Windows 10 on ARM moving forward, or eventually, and when this rolls out, it makes more sense for those, Centennial apps to be able to use those higher functionality, better features on a device anyway, and especially if the focus for Windows 10 mobile or whatever it's going to be, if the name changes or whatever, as we can assume that the focus will be more enterprise and productivity, it would make sense that you would want those higher features and, of course, running the better app instead of just the downloadable, the run as file, executable, I should say. that's one slant on it. And of course, I could be a Windows Mobile apologist, but I think there's still hope. There's still hope. We'll see what we get with Windows 10 Mobile in the next few months, several months. It'll be a while.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I am a bit wrong when saying we'll hear something at Build. I think, really, now that I think about it a bit more, it maybe not Build, rather, but whenever they announce their next hardware bit and they reveal that by what they mean by supporting mobile does not necessarily mean Windows Mobile as we know it.
It hasn't for a long time. I mean, mobile Microsoft apps on other mobile operating systems, and of course, a Surface is a mobile computer.
That's true.
So all right. Moving forward into some much funner stuff, actually.
Yeah. I'm going to let Vernon do this first one because I want to see how he can handle it. Just because this is something that I have a feeling anyone can enjoy, even if they're not into games. So I'm going to let him take the wheel with this one at first.
And very wise, very true. I'm covering the Xbox segment, or at least one post here.
Just the first item.
Just the first one. He's not going to let me dig into the other ones. Wise young man. So Halo Wars 2 has a couple live-action trailers that show unconventional tactics, in one way or another. And I don't know if these are actually on TV or if they're just via YouTube. I don't know.
They said they would be putting them out on social networks and online advertisements. Didn't mention if they would come to TV, but they definitely are set up so that they probably could.
Mm-hmm. So I do not recognize either of the characters in here because I don't really give two hoots about Halo or Halo Wars or Halo Wars 2. I don't know, whatever it is. But it shows a baddie, okay, some bad monster creature, bad guy, all up in his fighting gear, but he's also has his beard braided in a nice little braid. He's got a very nice blue and yellow tie on, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but my point is, someone who does not give two hoots about this is finding it interesting. That's me. But this commercial is basically about a used car salesman and trying to sell this car to whoever the other character. Who's the other character? A good guy of some kind.
Yes, that's exactly.
We'll go with that. The good guy and the bad guy, and they have the battle of wits, war of wits, or something. And he does a play-by-play in his head. What is the term? Like, first, I'm going to distract him with psychological warfare or something. I don't know. Whatever. I won't elaborate more on this. Go watch the videos. There's two of them on YouTube.
They're funny. They're funny commercials. We've got both of them linked in an article. I mean, we got both of them in an article that you can find in the notes. And they are funny. They are funny enough that Vernon, someone who has probably never touched an Xbox in his life, as far as I know, found them funny and interesting and wanted to look into stuff more.
Correct.
And I find it hilarious.
As we recorded this, I ordered an Xbox One S. No, I didn't. I didn't actually, but. It's inching me closer there.
Yeah. They're two fun commercials, which are... It kind of really reminds me of the way video game commercials used to be done. I mean, you used to have really, I guess, two classes, maybe two or three classes of commercials when it came to video games. The first one was when the announcer would just talk about games and sound uninterested, which I specifically remember for some Donkey Kong ads back in the day. Then you would have the ones that were off the wall, pure skit, or just, you wouldn't even see a single screen from the game. You would see something that was very, very different, stood out. Kind of like, I don't know if anyone else knows how creative print advertisements get, but these were as creative as many print advertisements were, and went on for a minute. And this is pretty much harkening back to that, and I have not seen any commercials this funny or creative for video games in literal years. And so yeah, it's good, it's fun, and I'd suggest checking it out.
Yep. What else we got?
as for the last two items on the list, first one, quick one, Grand Theft Auto 4 has joined the backward compatibility lineup, meaning that if you already own it on the Xbox 360, either digitally or physically, you can play it on your Xbox One, and of course, you can always buy it now and enjoy it there. And yeah, so that might be fun for some people who want to get into that. The final item is that Microsoft will soon bring UWP games to the Xbox One, and this does not mean that the submission is going to be as free and open as it is in the store. You're still going to have to go through the ID at Xbox program to get your game on the Xbox One, but it just means that games that are made in UWP can run on a system that runs UWP. Shocker. And yeah, this was also announced at this week's Windows Developer event, and I think we're done. My throat is ready to give out anyways.
All right. Well, we will not finish our full hour. Probably
I mean, we're close enough. We're at like 51, 52 minutes.
To your benefit, listener, you will have a break from us the rest of the episode here. So thank you for listening. Thanks for putting up for our less than focused podcast. I'm not having a wonderful day, neither is Andy. Thanks for listening every week. We appreciate that. You can follow the site on Twitter at MSPowerUser. You can follow myself on Twitter at VernonEL. You can follow Andy at FusionFan45. And make sure you reach out to him if you have a specific app that you would like us to, you would recommend us to cover as an app of the week. And that's it. Have a wonderful week. Take care, everyone.
Yep.